This looks good, doesn't it, buddy?
Absolutely. Glad to see
Got
everybody.
a good crowd, and we appreciate each and every one of you being here, and ask that you just follow along. If it's something you're interested in, then let us know, okay? I appreciate it, and at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Buddy Fowler, our Mayor Pro-Tem, if he will lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, let us bow our heads. Father, we come to you tonight with a thankful heart and asking you to continue to bless each and every one of us. Father, we ask you to bless the city. Father, be with those that need healing. Heal them, Father. Mend them. Be with those that need help, Father. We ask you to help with this country, Father. We seem to be falling on the wayside. Father, be with those that are sick. Bring them through, Father. We also ask that you continue to bless this town and bless this country as we continue to offer praise to you. And we're so glad to see all these people here tonight, Father. We ask you to continue to bless them and be with them as they leave tonight. We ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, and Mr. John Helms, if you would lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you may be seated. And at this time, I would like to ask Miss Paula Brinkley and her grandson Wyatt to come forward. Right up here into this. And this is a proclamation from the town of Surf City, and it says, whereas Tourette and Awareness Day is June the 7th and aims to raise awareness about Tourette syndrome and bring together those living with the condition. Whereas Tourette syndrome is a disorder that involves repetitive movement and unwanted sounds and tics and cannot be easily controlled. Whereas having a family history of Tourette syndrome or other tic disorders might increase the risk of developing Tourette syndrome. Whereas males are about 3 to 4 times more likely than females to develop Tourette syndrome. Whereas there is a critical need for increased awareness and expertise in identifying the disease and treat people with TS, a disorder that is often misdiagnosed and misunderstood. Whereas broadening public and professional knowledge of TS can lead to more acceptance and improved quality of life for children and families living with the disorder. Whereas a Tourette Association Greater Carolinas group provides service to families and educates medical professionals, teachers, and supports research to better understand the symptoms of the treatments for disease. Therefore, I, Douglas C. Medlin, Mayor of the town of Surf City, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, June the 7th, 2022, to be designated as Tourette's Awareness Day and encourage the citizens of Surf City to observe the day, and as always appropriate, it's important and it's signed by our town clerk and our mayor. Okay, also we have a beautification and enhancement committee awards. And is there anybody here from Low Tide Steakhouse? Yes, there is. Come on up front, please. I'm not going to let you stay back there. Okay, Low Tide gets the business of the month, and I know why, because I eat there all the time. So they do a great job, and we do appreciate you coming to Surf City and getting started there, and y'all have really improved it. Here, we thank you. Okay, is the Phillips family here?
There they are.
Oh, yeah, here they come. All right. Now, she hadn't fixed me anything to eat, so I don't know whether the food's good there or not. Guessing, I'd say it was. But anyway, they've done a beautiful job on the home, and I need you to run by and see it. It's at 68 East Ridge Road. So run by and see it. And this is the Phillips family. And what is your names?
John and Robin.
John and Robin. Okay, John and Robin Phillips. And, you know, we really appreciate people that keep their yards up and the beautification of it. It just makes Surf City look a lot better. So we appreciate you, and we're handing you this certificate. You can put it on the wall. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Now Don's got another hour, so we don't worry about him right now.
No, but you need to pass it
Huh?
now. You need to take care of it now.
Go ahead and take care of it now. Okay. Do I have a motion for Don?
Make a motion, we excuse Don Helms at 5:30 to personal reasons.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, you're excused, Don.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we ask that all in attendance please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. The council offers the public an opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes each and must be directly issue-oriented with agenda items for this meeting or issue upon which the council has control. Now, the chief informed me that he's got a new system put in, so when you get up and speak, when that 3 minutes ends up, you're going to get a sound, okay? And then if you keep on talking after that, then he'll come and see you, right? Okay. But just listen for the audible sound. Citizen speakers will be acknowledged in order that they signed up to speak and will address all comments to the board as a whole, no one individual council, not to any one council member. Speakers will address the council from speaker's podium at the front of the room and will begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Discussion between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Groups of individuals speaking, and I have all ideas, there's a lot of them here today, but groups of individuals speaking on the same topic of concern will need to pick an individual speaker to represent the group as a whole. Public comment is not intended to require council to answer any impromptu questions. Speakers are expected to be civil in their language and presentation. Any comments where the primary purpose is to promote business or candidacy shall not be allowed. In accordance with the council's adopted rules of procedures, council members shall reserve responses, if any, for the council forum on the agenda. Okey-doke. Next up is approval of consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I believe we need to adopt the agenda first.
Oh, we did? Well, I flipped. There was
I'll
too
make a
much.
motion to adopt agenda.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adoption passed. Okay, now approval for some consent agenda.
I made that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And if we got a second on it?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. Let's see. All right, public comment period.
We have Daniel Blevins.
Daniel Blevins, 621B North New River Drive, Surf City. First, I want to say thank you guys, all of you guys, for all that you do. I'm mainly here. I wanted to speak on the beach access and the cleaning and what you guys had canceled last time. And sometimes we look at things and think it's a bad idea. I disagree with the choice and decision that you guys made, but I think it's a good thing that you guys made it in a way because it reminds us sometimes to reflect on what community is about. Sometimes when decisions are made, it gives an opportunity for voices that would not be heard or would have remained quiet. It allows us to come forward. So it's not such a bad idea sometimes when you guys make suggestions or recommendations or do things, because it does wake up the community and allow us to come out and show where our passion is. I come from an area that wasn't a community. I come from an area that had nothing like this. Everything was a lot different, and when me and my family came here, we've never left. We came here 7 years ago this month, and we've never left. We love it here, and this is why I always preach to my kids about community efforts. I think allowing the community to be a part of it, allowing these businesses to partake in the cleanup and be acknowledged for it is no different than when we go to these same small mom and pop shops with our athletic kids and the pictures where they sponsored those kids. I think it's that same concept. It's that concept of pride. When we can put a picture of our kids' athletics into the rooms, and we know that that store has participated in our community. And I think that's a big deal. And I think sometimes as a council, you guys want to solve everything. Your job is to provide the services for us as a community. You guys your job is to do that. And I think sometimes you guys do it to a point where you forget that the most important thing sometimes is us. And if you guys can find a way to be able to blend the ability to have those businesses be able to sponsor and to have a backup system in place where you guys are already going into the beach accesses and into the parks and things, to be able to have that as a secondary system, that's not a bad idea. If you're already planning on spending the money anyway, it really doesn't hurt to give those businesses that same sense of pride that we have when we ask them for sponsorships. Another thing, with Aquaholics, you have a company there that is a small mom and pop shop. These are locals here, and you have big business that wants to come and move in, and sometimes you have to take these considerations on. And what does that consideration, what does the precedent set? We have a lot of big money that comes in, and I just want you guys to think about it and think about what you guys are inviting in if you guys do allow that. It could be Pandora's box, and what's the next business that comes in, Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right.
John Feely.
Good afternoon. First, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Town Council, for allowing me to speak briefly. My name is John Feely. I'm here on behalf of the villages at Turtle Creek, community located right behind me here on 210. I'm here representing our very active homeowners association. We've recently become concerned for the future of our neighborhood and our town based on some information that we found out about during a meeting on June 2nd with McKim and Creed. It was detailing a proposal for a development. This proposed project would consist of high-density apartment complexes, medium-density rental facility, and attractive single-family homes on a 95 acres behind our community. While we realize that this has not yet been placed on the agenda for the Planning Committee, we know that it soon will be. We kindly ask that you please seek information on this development and get involved in order to help guide this in a better direction. We understand that we can't stop the growth that's happening in Surf City, but we humbly ask that you support us as we feel that this development could negatively impact our community and the town of Surf City. We believe the proposed project could have a major negative effect on our residents, our already overcrowded schools, and our town infrastructure if this rezoning request is accepted as it reads today. The concerns are based on and could greatly affect the safety, health, and welfare of the residents of Surf City, and we ask that you take the time to thoroughly investigate the effects of this proposed project. We would also request that you take a look at the ordinance that you have in place to keep this a family-oriented beach town. There are ordinances to protect larger corporations and high-rises from the island with specific height restrictions, and we wonder what ordinances do you have in place to protect our mainland growth that we know is inevitable. Could you enact an ordinance to help reduce the high density on our mainland? We appreciate all you do for our community and simply ask for your support and our desires to keep this a family-friendly town. As our elected officials, we are counting you to be our voice and protect Surf City. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Andrea Carter.
This has already been talked about on the last several, and I'm Andrea Carter, at the last several workshops. I just want to kind of go over and follow up with what we've been doing and what has been said, some incorrect information. We have gone out into the Surf City citizens and gotten over 350 signatures online and wet signatures. The town of Surf City was always responsible for the maintenance and cleanliness of the beaches. Our program was nothing but a supplement, period. It was never to ask you to stop doing your job and we take over. In March 25th, 2022 workshop, the point of contention that has led to recommended change in the program was Councilwoman Batts was not aware that monthly reports were being submitted. Since then she has Mr. Fowler informed her that the reports were indeed being submitted and were quite detailed. Additionally, Mr. Fowler stated during that meeting that he had no clue why this was even brought to discussion. Mr. Helms, our Councilman Helms, also came to say also that if the reports were being submitted and the trash was being picked up, why are we bothering with it? Also, it was further stated that the reason for terminating the program was that the Beautification Enhancement Committee wanted to become a standalone committee. The committee wanted to take a project and do something to enhance our town. I understand that, and that sounds great. We have a corridor coming into the town that needs much service, and I think those would be better for their efforts. No one from the town of Surf City bothered reaching out to us about our program and if there was any issues. During the 3 years, we have had one complaint and one complaint only. I talked to the town manager about that in regards to, which was kind of funny because it was in regards to George Howard's access not being clean. And we know very well that even on your worst day, you know that that's being taken care of. He has his dog taught to lay down where the trash is. With that, no one reached out again to any of us within the program about it. Jody did reach out to Ms. Griffin regarding the monthly reports, and she informed her that the reports would be in and submitted in the month of March per the agreement that was with the former director, Mr. Chadmere. I would ask that I could continue, please. I feel like this has been a very big situation. Well, let's look at it this way. To Mr. Koloski, he made the comment, Koloski, I'm sorry, I don't mean to Koloski, slaughter your name, I do apologize. But for 12 months out of the year, Longboard, everybody picks up the trash. We just don't submit reports because at that time, Mr. Merritt said that he could take care of it because it wasn't peak season and the town could go out and take care of the accesses. Last meeting, they said that out of 6 street workers, they're going out there every single day. However, we just went through just this past month and we had quite the extensive list of issues out there. This has been a 100% volunteer-based program. It's not cost the town one dime. We understand that everything has kinks and things need to be worked out. We understand that. But out of respect to your fellow citizens, to the community, the least somebody could have done is came and sat down with us and talked to us about that before trying to terminate the volunteers within the city that is trying to give back and do something.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Zach Schnell.
Hello, guys, and good day, Mr. Mayor, Doug Medlin,
Thank you.
and fellow town council, and everybody here. It's great to see a lot of people here participating. So I wanted to speak.
Name and address.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
That's
So
all right.
I am Zach Schnell, and I am at 6096 6th Street, Surf City. And I wanted to speak with you all today regarding mostly some local flooding issues I've noticed go on that even just after normal rainfalls are starting to occur. And basically this is happening on the mainland and on the island itself. And there's been a lot of new neighborhood developments and additional business constructions over the recent years that I assume would have to apply to get correct permits for construction and everything. And because I've spoken with numerous community members on and off the island, and now after heavy rain, most people are starting to send pictures of their front roads becoming temporary local rivers, basically, due to the flooding of things. And this concerns me because I like to ask that over the permitting process, is there ever an environmental impact statement and an assessment done and conducted to help prevent these types of things from occurring? Because I know I've grown up around this area for the past 30 years, and I've noticed a lot of the neighborhoods now have been built on what used to be partially old wetland areas. So there's nowhere for the water to go now, and those neighborhoods are now seeing the issues from that, basically. So since this has So I wanted to present this as a concern, considering that there is a lot of growth and construction projects going on all over around the Surf City area, yet it does not appear that people are factoring in some of the environmental health and are somehow bypassing some of the environmental regulations. And for example, there's, because a lot of people would also be clearing out some of the trees and everything in the roots from their area. Well, by doing that, they are adding to the erosion that is causing, because those roots in that system is what is holding the ground together. And so now with that being eliminated, all that water and sediment and everything is also now, I'm noticing, is being factored into the intracoastal waterway around our local area as well, which is causing more sediments and murk buildup among some other issues. And so I'm presenting this mostly to ask if there is either some more environmental enforcement or some regulations to follow up, because I mean, even according to one example of the town ordinance is section 8.5 under the provision for flood hazard reduction general standards states that how all new construction and substantial improvements shall be constructed by methods and practices that minimize flood damages. And so it seems that these construction projects and builders aren't holding up their end of the bargain after it's done, because there's been, I know you all have also probably heard multiple issues from maybe some specific areas about flooding issues, but this is just getting worse. And due to the flood and due to the buildup, especially on the island, that people are bringing in dirt to raise their areas, well, now the water once again has nowhere else to go but the roads themselves. So now, how is the water going to wash out? And thank you all. Thank you all for listening. I look forward to future conversations.
Ralph Marticello.
My name's Ralph Marticello. I'm at Megabella Treasures at 418 North New River. I just want to go over real quick about, I know we got an expansion coming on the Parks and Recreation over at Surf City, and there's a lot of good things coming. My beef with the council is you got a lot of good people there that are working for the rec center and everything. And I know that we're tending now to overlook them and nickel and dime them on their part-time hours. You got a lot of good people there. I think you guys should take care of them. Make sure that they're there because, as well as I do, you guys are mostly businessmen. It takes a lot more to train people than to keep the ones that you have. And with my time that I got left, I know a lot of people are watching, especially mom and pop stores, on what you guys are going to do further down the road with alcoholics. So I hope you guys do the right thing.
Michael Dickey.
Good afternoon. Michael Dickey, 508 East Windward Landing Place in Hampstead, and owner of the Supercuts next door in the public shopping center there. And I just want to thank you all for the chance to bring this up. I've sent emails and was suggested that I come by and bring this up here as well. But wanted to talk about my wife and I own the Supercuts next door, as mentioned. And we recently learned after receiving a ticket at the beach that last year's policy of granting 2 passes to Surf City businesses has been changed this year to only grant those to the retail property owners. And while I understand the need to bring in revenue from parking, it does feel a bit unfair that a policy would be put in place that would grant Sam Walton a pair of parking passes where he's still alive because he has a Walmart here next door, but a mom and pop that has invested their life savings into a business to try to enhance Surf City would not be granted the same passes as well. So I know this is a new area that the board is navigating, the town is navigating with paid parking at the beach, but I do hope that this will be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Larry Rice.
Hello, my name is Larry Rice. I live at 712 Cockle Street, EJT, Surf City. I've been a resident of this area for quite some time. I moved here in 1978. Seen a lot of things that have changed, and I have been participant in that as well. I'm also a very active member with Topsail Island Longboard Association, and with the knowledge of what's been spoken about as far as the beach cleanup and the basically taking the beach cleanup away from the volunteer squads that are out there every week. If you'll come to the Roland Avenue Beach Access on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, without doubt, there will be 10 to 15 people out there picking up trash that's left over from the weekend that your staff has not got the time nor the ability, not necessarily the ability, but the time and effort that it takes to keep that, which is the largest access in Surf City, to keep it in a shape to where we look like we are a city that cares about our city. And for you guys to just inadvertently take that away from the people that have invested an awful lot of time, and it's their time. It's not somebody getting paid for it, it's their time. And for whatever reason, that is now going to go by the wayside. There are many people that are sponsors of accesses that have lost loved ones, that are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. There are some businesses that have signs out there. That little small sign on that access is not an advertisement. That is a statement that, yes, I am here, I'm a business, and I'm going to take care of this portion of Surf City. With that, it's kind of a slap in the face to some of the small businesses and the individuals that have invested their time to help keep our city clean. We are growing exponentially. We're growing too fast. We are outgrowing our infrastructure. If y'all keep approving these large developments, I mean, you look at this place on a Saturday morning. I can't even get out of J.H. Batts Road. I have to go to Little Kinston, to the roundabout, to be able to get to the food line because there are so many people. I guess it's a good problem to have, but at the same time, it's something that has to be managed properly. And at this point, I feel like we are overstepping what our infrastructure can actually handle. Thank you.
Who's next? That's all of them? All right.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes,
I believe we're at
you may.
item 10, or section 10, public hearings. The
Right.
third one of those is for a special use permit, and I'm informed that the applicant would like to continue that due to, well, I'll let the applicant come up and speak for themselves, but there may be some sort of discrepancy with the CAMA permit and perhaps the project narrative. Having said that, maybe we hear them now, Mayor, just in case people in the audience
Yes.
are waiting for that.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name's Brad Schuler. I'm with Paramount Engineering. We're representing the applicant in the special use permit request for the boat rental operation on 412 Roland Avenue. We are here to request a continuance to your next meeting in order to allow for some additional updates to the site plan and narrative to address some concerns that were presented at the planning board meeting. This would also allow staff the time to review those modifications as well.
And I believe
Comments?
they're also represented by Miss Amy Schaefer, a licensed
okay.
North Carolina attorney.
Thank you. Mr. Schuler is the agent of the applicant. Just because it's a quasi-judicial hearing and there are certain rules of evidence or procedure, they asked my firm to assist with those. And we think that Mr. Schuler and the property owner's request for continuance would help us with due process and getting together all the necessary evidence to present to the board.
Okay.
May
Mr. Attorney, when do we want to forward it to?
Well, I would, well, let me, if I may, Mr. Mayor, may I ask Miss Schaefer a question? Yes, sir. Ms. Schaefer, if I understood you correctly, some of the issues you want to now address came forward for the first time in the planning board hearing?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And the basis for the request is to address those issues that arose during that hearing?
Yes, sir. There were some questions. So a special use permit is tied to the land and not the applicant or even the owner of the land and not the user of the land. And there were some questions and concerns about that, and we'd like to provide some additional information to the planning department to help clarify those kinds of issues, as well as the slip numbers. And as Mr. Schuler said, we had to do some updates to the site plan. And so all of that's taking some time to pull together, working with CAMA, as well as we need to get it to your planning department in time for them to adequately review it and provide you a report.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
So what you're saying is y'all were not ready to go to the planning board with your thing because you didn't have all the information you needed at that time, didn't have a site plan in place?
Oh, no, sir.
And hadn't
We
heard
did.
back from CAMA or the other things?
No, sir.
And that's not the reason?
No, sir. We did have that information at planning board, but planning board, it's my understanding, the reason that these items go to planning board is to kind of flesh out some of the questions and concerns and have planning board, who are the experts, ask questions. Some of their questions generated changes to the site plan. They generated some questions and concerns about the property owner and updates to the narrative and things like that. So it's my understanding that the whole reason for the planning board process is to see if there are additional items before the quasi-judicial hearing. And we just felt that there were, so that we could have that better for the board during the actual evidentiary hearing.
I agree with that statement. Because I found some, what I call, not flaws, but some questions that need to be raised as well.
Okay.
Concerning the process. So do you want to withdraw the application at this time, or do you want to, us to rule on it, or what? Because I only see three choices. Either withdraw it, we move forward, either approving or denying it, or we table it.
Yes, sir, we're asking for it to be tabled and
Are you
continued.
asking to go back to the planning board?
I think that would be up to Mr. Eads and Ms. Kimes, once they got the updated information, if it was something they felt would have to go back through the planning board. If there's substantial changes, that wouldn't be up to us, of course.
I think the appropriate label or the threshold is whether the revised site plan would constitute a modification that the planning board needs to look at again. Sounds like the applicant may think that may be the case.
I honestly don't know how major those changes are going to be. There were some questions about the numbering on the site plan and what was the fuel tank and what was the slip, those kinds of things. Once we get that to Ms. Kimes, I think it would be part of her review to see if those are material substantial changes, and we'd be happy, whatever your planning department and Mr. Eads thought was the appropriate path for that procedurally.
How many boats are you currently operating out of there?
Sir, we don't, so the marina itself has 15 slips.
What about Freedom?
Freedom Boats has 8 of those slips.
8, so you're
Yes.
currently operating 8 out of there.
Yes, sir.
And Alcoholics has how many?
I believe 4 slips.
And Tiki Boats has 1.
They have 2, is my understanding, and then there's 1 that is not currently with a corporation or a business.
So all of those things comply with our conditional use permit at this time?
No, sir.
That's what I thought.
Us, sir.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, real quick, I got a quick question here. So the planning board, us as a council, we take the recommendations of a planning board or any advisory board. We take those recommendations. You said the narrative may have changed, correct?
Yes.
That's the
Yes,
word
sir.
you used. Okay.
Yes.
So the narrative changed. But how long ago was the planning board meeting?
It was about a month ago.
Okay. So in that, since then, the planning board made a recommendation, but the narrative changed for you since they made the recommendation, right?
Yes, sir.
So then you want us to continue this so you can change the narrative?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if it has to go back before Planning Commission so they could review it under that new information, I think that would be Ms. Kimes and Mr. Eads' review to say it's changed enough.
Well, what are the narrative?
like it.
Well,
Mr. Attorney, I'm trying to find out what is the narrative that changed from the planning board's, that's what I'm trying to find out here.
and I just want to remind the board, and I encourage these questions because we don't want to waste anyone's time, either tonight or next week or 2 months from now. If and when this application or the modified application comes before this board, the planning board's recommendation is a factor you can consider, but you're required to base your vote that evening on the competent, substantial, and material evidence presented during the hearing. For instance, all the witnesses will be sworn in and subject to cross-examination. Ms. Schaefer, if you don't mind these type of questions now, I encourage it because it would likely help you improve your plan.
Absolutely.
But we are not in a quasi-judicial hearing right now.
I understand.
Right.
I do understand. At the planning board, so right now, the way that the conditional zoning is written, it is tied to a particular business. Under the law, conditional district zonings, which are now special use permits, have to be tied to the property. And so we're trying to fix that and bring it into compliance with current law. One of the concerns and questions in the narrative that we submitted as part of our application, and you have that, Mr. Schuler submitted that, it said that Freedom Boats and Paramount were asking for this, and there was just some confusion about who's asking for it, why they're asking for it, and we just want to make it really clear that it's the property owner, because it is tied to the property, that's asking for it. And then, again, the questions about how many boats are there and how many are being used and how many slips and what does the CAMA permit say. Unfortunately, we're working with CAM on that, and that's taking some time to get all that information together. So that's the main changes of the narrative.
But it's really tied, it has to get the permit, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. The permit has to be obtained by the property owner. We're acting as the agent and the applicant, but ultimately it would be the property owner, and then it would be tied to that property. So even if the property was sold, the permit would stay with the
Right,
property. Yes, sir.
Or if you move, then it stays with the property, it doesn't go with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd like to ask our planner, do you think it needs to go back before the planning board?
Well, Amy, that's what I was going to say. Before you answer that,
You hear?
She said cameras had some changes. She said cameras had some changes.
I spoke with the camera representative early on to try to make sure that we had the right number. He may have looked at an older permit, so we are trying to make sure that we are actually operating on, on the assumptions in this narrative on the most recent and correct camera permit. So until we can get all of that straightened out, and by we I mean them, I don't know what the changes are going to be. Once I get that, I will certainly make the decision through, with help from Mr. Eads, as to whether it needs to go back to planning board or whether it's just really taking that number one that was in front of the fuel tank and moving it down so that it's in the actual slip location and not in front of the fuel tank, or whether it's a change in number, a change in intensity may require it to go back to planning board.
I still say, basically, because there's a lot of information missing, the site plan's not exactly correct, that you're not ready to have this presented to the town council yet.
That's why we're asking for continuance.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, it needs to go back in front of the planning board
that,
and then come back to us.
Whatever your procedure is, yes, sir. We're happy to follow
I
that.
go back to my original statement. You have three choices. Withdraw your application and reapply later, or we can table it, or we can either vote to approve it or deny it.
Mr. Eads, I'm sorry, is a tabling different than a continuance? Whatever, I'm happy.
well, it's not been open yet, so it would be continued, but I think Mayor Pro-Tem Fowler's correct. But I would
Yes,
label
sir.
it as a modification, and even without the benefit of seeing what those modifications are, I think the cleanest thing for the applicant, the planning board, and this council would be for it to go back before planning board.
We're happy to follow whatever recommendation, sir.
If Mr. Brewer wants to add or take any,
I want to ask something. How are you operating now? That's my big question, been all along. How does a business operate without getting permits from the town? You're supposed to have permits when you come in this town. You're supposed to get permits to operate. It irritates me when people operate or try to operate a business before you get permits. That's wrong. I'm on the fire department, and it irritates me that John has to go hunt people down, and I know all of it's, not all of it's your fault because the state done away with something that we used to keep up with it. But still, when you run a business and you operate a business, then you need to go to the town hall. That's the first place you need to go.
Yes, sir.
And get you permits to operate legitimate business. Because these people that are out here that are already operating a business, they got permits. And John does not, the fire marshal does not need to be looking for you. He needs to know that you're there. And it happens all the time. And it irritates the life out of me because you're endangering people's lives and we don't even know you're there. And you up and it catches on fire and we got a major undertaking on our hands, which I don't like. And you can't stop fires, I understand that. But we need to know who's there and what they're doing in order to know what's going on in this town. And my recommendation to you is withdraw this until you're ready, because right now, you hadn't got what you need in order to get a permit and get the conditional use permit. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
With you wanting to withdraw or postpone, are you willing to cease business until it does get approved or denied?
Ma'am, I can't answer that. I
So
would-
we can hear what she's saying.
That's the property owner. The property owner has a special use permit right now for 8 slips. Mr. Eads, I don't know if you want to speak to the legality or illegality of the fact that a particular business is named in that permit. And so I can't answer that, ma'am. I think if that's something that you would want the property owner, we could speak to, and we can continue it to the next meeting, and you can ask them. I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't want to give legal advice on pre-existing
Right.
legal non-conforming or anything like that. I think the appropriate thing, number one, that would be an enforcement action. I can get with Mr. Brewer on that, and we can interface on that. I don't know that we can condition, if the applicant's saying they want to modify their application, send it back to the planning board, I think due process would lean towards allowing that to happen. In the interim, if staff needs to take a look at enforcement, and I'm not saying, I don't want to opine on what we can and can't enforce yet without looking at the history, because if something is a pre-existing legal non-conforming, that's kind of a little animal all of its own. But I'll be happy, Mayor and Council, to work with Mr. Brewer and staff on potential enforcement issues in the interim if this is postponed and goes back in front of the planning board with a modified site plan and narrative, clarification on the CAMA issues, et cetera.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, does that answer your question?
Wouldn't it be simpler for them just to withdraw? And whenever they get all their ducks in a row, bring it back before, see Ms. Kimes, and enter into, get a permit and start the process over again?
Well,
I think the best thing to do is to let the council.
The only entity that can issue the special use permit is this council.
That's correct.
That's only after we have a quasi-judicial special use
I
hearing.
understand that
We
too.
haven't done anything yet, so.
And,
right.
and
Right.
what
So we're
I'm,
not-
well, I'll answer any additional questions the council has. It seems to me like we're going to be looking at a minimum a modified application. Modifications are largely driven by issues that came up at the planning board. The purpose of the planning board is to vet out these type of things so they can better advise this council. And I think in light of what I'm hearing, that would be the appropriate course of action.
Yes, sir. Withdrawal or continuance is, if it's going back to Planning Commission, Mr. Mayor, I think that it's, saying different things but achieving the same end. So however the board sees fit to phrase that, we're happy to comply.
Well, I'll let you and the attorney do the phrasing, but I think the best thing to do is to let it go back to the planning board.
I think that's going to happen.
Come to us clean.
Yes, sir. Ms. Schaefer, would you be willing, just so there's no confusion, to withdraw your present application, come back with a new application submitted with these modifications?
Yes, absolutely. I think we have everything ready to go outside of CAMA, which we'll verify with CAMA and Ms. Kimes as well. But the narrative and the site plan are ready to be submitted.
Okay, so for the record, will the applicant agree to withdraw the existing application, bring it back to planning board with whatever new modifications, however you want to phrase that?
Sure. Yes, sir.
In light of that stipulation, Mr. Mayor, we have no choice but to not hear it tonight because it's been withdrawn.
Okay.
Mr. Rees?
Yes, sir.
May I ask a question? As you were super courteous and polite with us and professional, I'd like you to give the same respect to the planning board, please. I read the minutes, and I know you were pretty aggressive there.
I understand, sir. And
So I would just like that same courtesy. They represent us, we represent them, and I think that's what you owe our community.
Yes, sir, I do understand that, and I apologize. Sometimes with the quasi-judicial hearings in the planning board, it's a little difficult because there are certain rules of procedure that have to be followed. And so in building a record for any court appeals, I do have, and I will say this during the hearing in front of you all, that I apologize for the formality, but I have to make certain comments and stipulations about what can and can't be considered. Unfortunately, that is part of providing and protecting the record, but yes, sir, I understand.
And Councilman Shugarts, I will be assisting or facilitating the quasi-judicial hearing before this board. I'm familiar with those procedures. Actually, Ms. Schaefer's been in some of the other towns. We'll follow the rules. I haven't read the planning board minutes, but I can assure you in front of this council, the decorum will be appropriate and we will follow the rules.
Okay. So do we need to do anything since she withdrew it?
No, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Schaefer,
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't think so, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, sir.
So that would bring us back to, I believe, public hearing 1, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And for the members of the audience that were here for public hearing 3, that application has been withdrawn, so that will not go forward this evening.
Okay. Carla, annexation of ice distributors.
Have anybody signed up to speak for it?
No, we do not. We do not have anybody signed up.
But let's open it.
No, we're through
and
with
then
our public hearing.
On,
This is a different section, really.
where's the agenda? Is it a public hearing? Okay. Mayor, if we could have a motion to open that public hearing. If no one wishes to speak, we will then close it.
I make a motion, we open the public hearing for,
All in favor, raise your hand.
All right. Does any member of the public, whether you've signed up to speak regarding this item or not, wish to speak during this public hearing? Madam Clerk, let the record reflect no one indicates they'd like to speak. Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, public hearing closed.
You can see there, Mayor, the action requested is that the town council approve the annexation as presented.
Right, she doesn't need to read it, does she? Okay, do I have a motion to accept annexation?
make a motion, we follow the annexation request.
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is the Evolve conditional rezoning application. Ms. Kimes, are you going to introduce that before we open up the public hearing, or? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Tonight before us is the conditional rezoning request for Evolve Surf City 2. The current owner is Marcia S. Spiller. The agent is Jim Sorello with Paramount Engineering. He was unable to be here tonight, so you may see Mr. Schuler again because they are from the same firm. The total acreage of the site is 30.45 acres. We are requesting, or they are requesting, a conditional rezoning of 27.31 acres. The proposed use is residential with some commercial remaining on the section that they're not requesting to be rezoned. It is currently zoned C3, and it would be a proposed conditional district rezoning. The property is approximately 700 feet north of the US 17 NC 210 intersection and is on the east side of US 17. State stormwater permits will be required as a part of the site plan approval, as well as sediment erosion control, wetlands, all of the state and federal permits. So Paramount Engineering, on behalf of Evolve Companies LLC and Marcia S. Spiller, is requesting the rezoning of this tract. The tract is identified on Pender County GIS with a parcel identification number as listed in your packet. The property is located north of US 17 NC 210 intersection with approximately 845 linear feet of road frontage on US 17. The existing property will be divided into two areas. The applicant is not requesting rezoning of approximately 3.14 acres, as it will remain a commercial use. The proposed commercial area of the development is closer to the US 17 NC 210 intersection. This intersection acts as a commercial node within the town. The remaining 27.31 acre rezoning request would support multifamily units. The road frontage in this section consists of wetlands with a high ground area that will function as the entrance to the multifamily, as well as the stormwater feature. The buildings will be set back from the road and will be buffered by the entrance, as well as the property between the project and US 17. The proposed project provides a density of 9.66 units per acre, which is consistent with our MFC zoning, which allows up to 10 units per acre, and less dense than our medium density PUD, which allows up to 16 units per gross acre. The applicant is requesting a 15-foot front setback, 10-foot side setbacks, 20-foot side setback adjacent to road, and a rear 10 feet setback. Due to the width of wetlands along the back and northern border, the town supports the requested setbacks. In the original application, the applicant requested a height of 55 feet. At the planning board, we discussed that, and the applicant agreed to remain at the 48 feet height limit, which is our height limit on both the island and the mainland, without a special use permit. Surrounding town of Surf City zoning consists of C3 zoning. The US 17 NC 210 and NC 50 NC 210 intersections, as well as the NC 50 NC 210 corridor on the mainland, act as the commercial nodes within the town limits. Our most intensive commercial is allowed in this zoning. As we leave these nodes and corridors, the zoning transitions from more dense multifamily to single-family homes. An example of this can be found along Austin Boulevard. The frontage along NC 210 supports commercial, which transitions into apartments and then into single-family homes. Adjacent Pender County zoning consists of planned development zoning, with conservation being across US 17, so you have the game lands on the other side. The planned development zoning allows for mixed-use development that promotes quality urban design and environmentally sensitive development by preserving critical environmental resources, providing above-average open space amenities, incorporating creativity in the layout of buildings, open space, and circulation systems, assuring compatibility with the surrounding land use and neighborhood character, and providing efficiency in the layout and provisions of roads, utilities, and other infrastructure. The site will protect the wetlands by providing limited wetland disturbance. The applicant has worked with the Department of Transportation to begin the process. My page jumped, I apologize. The applicant has worked with the Department of Transportation to begin the process of completing a traffic impact analysis. The approved scoping document has been agreed upon and is in your packet for your review. The study will look at the existing intersections of US 17 and NC 210, as well as the U-turn movement to the north of the site. The study will also look at the proposed driveway connections. I would like to note that that's the proposed driveway connections of the residential only. The commercial is not being looked at this time because we do not know the layout of that C3 area that they are not requesting to rezone. The main access will be located on US 17, with secondary access proposed on NC 210, utilizing an existing access easement. As part of the traffic study, the applicant provided a table illustrating the difference in traffic between full build of C3 property and the proposed project. So for that, we look at the highest and best use. So we go into the magic books and look at the proposed traffic rates as determined by ITRI, or by the green books. So we looked at that and note that with the commercial use versus the residential, the traffic impact on 17 would be less. That table is in the back of your packet as well for your review. The property is located in the Rocky Point Topsail Water and Sewer District as established by Pender County in 1996. Pender County can provide water but not sewer to this parcel. To receive water from the town of Surf City, the applicant would have to receive a release from Pender County. If the county is unwilling to release the subject parcel, the applicant would need to request through council permission to be a sewer-only customer. This rezoning does not guarantee that council will provide this release. The applicant is aware that the town cannot support the sewer needs of this parcel until the town receives additional capacity. If this site is approved for rezoning, the applicant will complete the engineering of the site and be placed on the sewer capacity waiting list. Once sewer capacity is available, it will be distributed based on the current wait list. This wait list will be maintained by the Utilities Department. Town staff will provide additional reviews as the engineering phase of the project begins. The conditional rezoning before you tonight is based on a site plan that may have minor changes to meet all town design standards. The conditional zoning ordinance allows staff the ability to approve minor changes while requiring major changes to be brought back before council for approval. The ordinance also provides definitions and examples of both major and minor changes. The 2005 land use plan shows this property as business corridor. The land use plan only discusses property that was within the town limits at the time of the plan origination. Since 2005, when this plan was written, the town has allowed for development behind C3 to be multifamily development to create a transition between commercial uses and single-family residential. The rezoning of this property allows for the back portion of the property to be used as multifamily while keeping the commercial on the road frontage. Though the plan does not specifically address zoning in the adjacent parcels, because they were in the county, the rezoning would be consistent with town practices. Also, parcels that were within the town at the time of the plan and between NC 210 and US 17 were shown as mainland transitional residential. Parcels with this designation include the remaining phase of Turtle Creek, as well as the large tracts adjacent to Turtle Creek. Portions of this designation touch both NC 210 and US 17, with the US 17 piece being similar in that the portion next to US 17 would provide access with the development being set back from the roadway. The applicant held a meeting at the Surf City Crossing Community Clubhouse located at 206 Collegiate Drive at 2 p.m. on Monday, April 4th, 2022. 2 people attended the meeting. The meeting invite, roster, mailing list, and meeting summary are included in your packet for your review. The site plan, aerial map, and zoning map are also attached for your review. The Planning Board heard this item at the March 10th, 2022 meeting and recommended approval. That concludes my staff report.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, before.
Yes.
Ms. Kimes, have we reduced the writing anywhere, the understanding regarding water and sewer?
Have we received it in writing from them?
Right, well, I mean, we need to have that. If the board's inclined to vote in favor of this, we need to reduce that, the writing. I'll defer to you, whether it be in the site plan or the ordinance itself. Kyle, wouldn't you agree?
I would. You're talking about the regulations as far as...
Well, we can't serve them right now.
Right, we can't. Yeah.
They understand they have to get a release from the county on water. They understand what our policy is.
I have to wait for sewer until he gets here.
And they're going to have to ask for a concession if they do get if they can't get a release, but they're getting water from one place and sewer from another. And now we're talking down the road. But Kyle, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, there's internal policies in place that affect that language, and you know, the council could certainly just condition on the rezoning. The applicant is certainly fully aware of the situation that they're faced with.
I'm just saying, 5 years from now, who knows who may.
I would like to see it in writing.
I want to make sure, because the conditional zoning is kind of site plan specific, and I want to make sure that, because they could sell the site, I want to make sure it's clear somewhere. I recommend at least it's clear somewhere.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Kimes. Motion to open the public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, public hearing is now open on the evolved conditional. Yes, sir.
Can I speak?
Yeah. Come on up. We're in a public hearing. You already public, right?
I am in public. The approval of the multiples of subdivisions and apartment complexes and different commercial sites. Surf City sewer system does not have capacity for these subdivisions. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was what he was just discussing then.
Correct. So we are continuing to approve subdivisions without being able to service them with sewer?
Not that they can be put in.
Understood.
Yeah.
But at what point in time are we going to not be at 100% capacity on our sewer? I mean, we are busting at the seams right now. And to continue to bring these national builders in here. I'm a general contractor. I'm not a tract builder. I build custom homes. And in that regard, Topsail Island has always been, which we have heard, a community of people that care about each other. And now we are getting inundated with more and more people coming to Surf City. And if we continue to annex spots here and there to put in these large tracts of land, large tracts of homes, that's not progress. I feel like we're going backwards. Doug, I've been here for a long time. I was here when there was only 300 permanent residents.
Yeah, I know. I've been here a few days.
And now we are literally busting at the seams, and I don't think it is prudent for council to continue to approve subdivisions that are not going to be able to be built until we acquire more sewer capacity and the water that would need to be there to provide to these subdivisions. I mean, I don't think it is good progress when we can't even service the individuals that are wanting to build right now. You go into some of these larger subdivisions on a rainy day, and yes, the water is pouring down the streets. So the site plans and the stormwater plans that should be in place are not effective enough to keep our estuaries from being polluted. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Really big on that side. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Henry. I'm a resident here at 124 Leyland Way. I don't know if I needed to say that. I agree with Mr. Larry Rice on the fact that, there are a lot of things that are busting at the seam. And let me just slow down. I want to thank you all for serving our community. I know that it's a thankless job. I know that you get beat up a lot. and so I just want to thank you for volunteering. And I know that you, but thank you very much. I have some concerns. I'm not here to represent my neighborhood at this time. I will be back to represent my neighborhood at a different time. It's already been represented tonight. But I agree. I've lived in Surf City for a very short period in my life, but it's the longest period of time I've ever lived anywhere. I've lived in 9 states, 3 different countries. I've lived all over. I've lived in big cities. I've lived in only a few small towns. And one of the things that I fell in love with about Surf City when we moved here was the quaintness and the steadfastness and just the families that had been here. I wish that I had brought a copy of Topsail Island, Mayberry by the Sea. I have a signed copy of that. That's something that I hold dear, and so I understand that progress is inevitable. I understand that. But I guess my question to the board for a future time would be, what is the vision for the city? Because we were Mayberry by the Sea, and we have a lot of families, a lot of homestead families that have made Surf City what it is today, that it would seem as if we might be gentrifying And at some point in time, those families wouldn't be able to maintain their lands here. And for me, that's a major concern, even especially for like the Edgecombe community and a few, just the bats. Mr. Harold is like one of my favorite people. But when you look at people that have been here for their whole lives, that they're generational, they made this place. The vision for the city, I understand progress is going to happen, but that can be shaped and scoped to ensure that we preserve the quaintness and the beauty that we have here in Surf City and maintain and protect those families and the small businesses that have come in and, you know, really made this a vibrant city and made it a place that's attractive, made it the place that made us the island of the year last year. I mean, that was huge. Now I'm like, why? That was almost like a curse. Go away. But with that development, if I'm not mistaken, by the acreage and the approval, that would be roughly 263 units, correct? So with 263 units on top of what's still being built in Magnolia, plus what is going to be going before the Planning Committee, which is 700 to 600 units, all coming out onto 210 on Saturdays. I live in a neighborhood where before, when we had the swing bridge, on Saturdays, I either went to the beach at 9:30 or made sure all my groceries were done, but at 11, I couldn't leave my neighborhood. And we brought in the big, beautiful bridge, but it got that way again. And so I'm very concerned with the traffic on 210 with 263 units, a potential for another 700 units, and then things that are still being developed. And I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but again, I understand progress. I do think that high density may not be very good, and medium density should be looked at. Do we have any ordinances that actually protect us against high density, or do we have a maximum for the mainland and a plan going forward, or some laws that are in place that can help us shape and scope as we progress forward so that we can maintain the identity of Surf City? Those are, I know that was a little bit rambling, so I apologize, but I didn't anticipate speaking. So y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak? Okay.
I'll make it quick. Carry on what they said. You know, I'm kind of conflicted in a way, because in one way I have 4 kids and I want them to be able to have a place to move to, because obviously the homes here are very expensive now, and it's priced out just about any local kid who's coming up and graduated. They pretty much got to move away from their community in order for them to live here. But at the same time, we have to look. I mean, we don't have enough room right now for our school, you know, for the kids in our schools already. You know, they've already run out of room at Topsail High School, and I know that's a county problem and not a city problem, but when it takes away the resources of our city kids, that's a city problem. We have to look at what it is. I think she's right. I think we have to look at long term. You know, it's not just about preserving the rights of a landowner who wants to change a zoning. It's about making sure that you're also protecting those who have been invested in here, you know, as property owners for a long, long time. And you have far more people here that are invested in Surf City as it is than the 200 and some homes that will be built there, or the one property owner who wants to rezone. And so it's, you know, one of the best things you could say is, don't confuse movement with progress. Or don't confuse progress with movement, because we can run in place. You know, I saw that the other day, and I thought that was very fitting for this. You know, just because we're approving things doesn't mean we're making progress. And that's something that really could, you know, hem us up as a community later on, or as the resources start to dwindle, not just in sewer and water. That's a big thing for the construction aspect, but the schools, you know, there's a lot of things that go with those resources, you know, and we're going to have to account for them. We're going to have fire departments, police department increase. You know, there's a lot of things that go along with that. So something to consider as you guys are looking to approve or deny these. Thank you, guys. And thank you for all you do.
Yes, sir, Mr. Will. Oh, Lordy, he's got a sheet with him.
Oh, no. That's just the agenda. Well, I'm Will Taylor again. I'm from the Dogwood Lake area. But however, that was just a comment made that does resident into my heart about the current exploring of the residential income coming into the community. And the area that concerns me the most is the comment about the Edgecombe community. There is an area that is being exploited for over 600 residential homes that is going to have a real negative effect on the Edgecombe community. And I'm speaking in regards to actually my wife's family, that is a complete, totally seniors home, who is people that are living on nothing but fixed income. And they're out there being faced with all of these homes coming in, which we understand growth is one thing, but at the same time, I'm thinking of terms where they've been trying to get sewage and water for the last 30 years I've been here. They can't get it. However, it makes it even harder from what I'm understanding, hearing about all the development about to take place in that area. So, and now I'm also hearing that not only will those homes coming in there got to get possibility of no approval or approval of sewage and water. So if you're going to bring in sewage and water, I have to agree with the people that's been talking. That's going to cause some serious problems. I mean, I'm all about growth. I'm sorry, but I have to speak in terms of my wife's grandmother, grandparents, uncles, and all who is there wanting about. We're going to be pushed out 10 years away from now. We're not going to be able to even actually live in our home where we've been for 100 years. So I would like for that to be considered when all these development comes in and want to go in and run them completely out of their homes. So, and then of course, the support that needs to come with these homes is going to make it even worse. And traffic, I don't even know how to say that. It's going to get rough. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, but I would like for us to really take serious consideration that when we are trying to annex into there, and I thought I understood the state said that annexation was volunteered, not forced. And I'm not sure how these homes is going to get into there when they did not go to the Edgecombe community and say, hey guys, we're coming in on you. How did that happen? I think that the community, in fact, there was a meeting on the 2nd as they spoke that said that was a lot of people that were very upset about that. They didn't even know themselves. So how do a developer come in and establish something that the community doesn't know about? So again, thank you very much for that. And any questions about, that can be cleared up, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Will.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody else want to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if it's appropriate time for me to speak. Again, Brad Schuler with Paramount Engineering. I'm representing Evolve Companies in this rezoning application. And if I could just provide a few words.
Okay. Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you. We've heard a couple of concerns. We understand we can't build the project without utilities. Before we work on the actual plans to produce that, we're trying to get our zoning entitlements. I will say that the property is zoned for a commercial zoning district. It allows for a lot of different types of commercial uses like hotels and convenience stores and bars and nightclubs. We're just asking right now this time to change that zoning to where those commercial uses would not be permitted on a good portion of the property, over 27 acres. We're just asking to change that zoning district. We understand we'll have to come in and work with all the utility companies to get their approvals and get the lines in the ground before we can construct the project. As far as traffic, we are working on a traffic impact analysis. Those have to be reviewed and approved by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. Overall, the proposal would actually reduce the amount of traffic generated from the site than if it was developed under its current zoning. Residential, especially multifamily, just generates less peak hour trips in a commercial development. And so it's actually going to be a reduction if the rezoning is approved. We think this would be a good transition. This property, fronts on Highway 17. It's a major corridor. You're going to generally see more of your commercial and multifamily type projects along those major roadways. And we're still saving some of that commercial portion of the property near the existing commercial node, and then transitioning it to the multifamily where it is closer to the residential zoning and the unincorporated area of the county. And we have, again, no issues with the building height being limited to 48 feet. We have no issues with any condition regarding the connection of the utilities. We understand that is the town's policies and regulations. We'll have to comply with those. But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else want to speak?
Mary, you have someone over here.
Oh, got one right there.
How's it going, everybody?
How you doing?
Doing well. My name is Connor McNair. I grow oysters here. There are a lot of oyster farmers here, a lot of great fishermen. Don't forget why we're all here.
Right.
That's it. Clean water.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, anybody else?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second? He's going to make a motion been made. Second. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
Can I ask Amy a question?
Do what?
Can I ask Ms. Times a question
Yeah?
before we vote? The current, Ms. Times, the current zoning on that property, what is the current zoning and density that we allow on that property right now? Because I think it's already been annexed into town.
It has been annexed into town prior to me coming, so it's been in town for a while. It is currently zoned C3, which would allow a Lowe's, a Walmart, a gas station. It is our most heavy commercial. It would allow light industrial. Any of those types of things could be on it. Not nightclubs, bars, restaurants, storage facilities, all kinds of things.
And the conditional rezoning permit they're asking for, what will it allow density-wise?
Would allow what we wanted it to allow.
They are asking for, it is 9.66 units per acre, which is just so our PUD and our MFC allow for this type of development. The medium density PUD allows for 16 and the MFC allows for 10, so it is staying under the density requirements of our two zonings that allow multi-family buildings.
Thank you.
Okay. And the board got anything else?
Can I ask David Price a question? How many years do you think before that site's going to get sewer?
Honestly, between 5 and 10, if I had to say. And that's today's numbers, not counting what it's going to be a year from now.
And the applicant would be willing to sign something stating they know it's going to be 5 to 10 years? At minimum.
Yeah, we're aware of all the water and sewer issues here. We're willing to sign that. We're also working on potential alternatives in the meantime, but we know that it's a good spot, and we actually, I know that there's been a number of neighboring people around here that have mentioned, you know, the neighborhoods, the people here. I just want to mention, we're the developers, builders, and owners. We did the Evolve Surf City behind the Harris Teeter off 210. I checked on the way up here. The Google reviews are about 4.7 out of 5 stars on that. And Google reviews are from neighbors. They're from the people that live there. So it's a good type of property, and we respect our neighbors, and our neighbors respect us, and we are good for the town. So to answer those questions, that's all I wanted to say. So I know there can be some negative connotations with apartments, but when you see 4.6 stars, that says something. If you see a 4.5-star restaurant, it's a very high quality restaurant. So just wanted to say that about who we are, what we intend to do on this property. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, to Councilmember Batt's questions, if there is a motion to approve, you can make the approval contingent upon the items Ms. Kimes identified at the beginning. Release from the county on water, no guarantee when we're going to have sewer, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the applicant's on record saying now they understand that, but if there's a motion to approve, that's my recommendation, and I welcome Mr. Brewer to chime in if there is such a motion.
But can we put a time limit on it?
I would not recommend we put a time limit on it. I would recommend that that there's no guarantee if or when these type of utilities will be available.
We can't do a guarantee of saying that they will not be in there and be finished within 5 or 10 years.
That's a complicated question because in conditional zoning.
That's what Teresa wanted, right?
In conditional zoning, generally you can do what I call a look back, and if it's not progressed to a certain point by a certain point, you can either have it rezoned back to its pre-conditional zoning state. In this instance, it's a little bit unique, and actually it's a good point, because if we're going to have a look back, but yet they can't progress because we don't have the ability to provide the facilities, we'll probably need to address that in the approval as well. Mr. Brewer?
You just said what I was going to basically mention is that, typically a conditional rezoning, if there's no action to move forward on it, then you can have something in there that sends it back to the planning board to consider this going back to its original zoning district.
I think
in this case that's C3.
But they're down zone, some of it's down zone, so what do you want in there?
Sure.
I think the triggering date to start measuring that progress would have to be from the date the utilities are available. I mean, if you do hypothetically a 6-year sunset, and we don't have the ability to provide sewer for 8 years, then the math doesn't add up. So we are looking, from what I'm hearing, at least 5 or 6 years out before they start turning dirt out there to build homes.
So why wouldn't they just wait on rezoning until they can do it?
I can't speak for the applicant. If I heard him correctly, I mean, there are other options, sewer package plants. I'm familiar with Evolve. They do a lot of work in eastern North Carolina.
I mean, they want something guaranteed if they don't spend 5 or 6 years drawing plans and doing engineering.
Point well taken, but I do believe the infrastructure costs, number one, you have to know what type of infrastructure you're going to put in, whether the utilities are available yet or not. If they want to move forward earlier than 5 years, they're going to have to make accommodation through other means, such as a package plan or something like that on the sewer side, which you wouldn't want to spend that type of money unless you knew what you were going to. Well, I can't speak for the applicant. I would not want to spend that type of money unless I knew what I could or could not do out there.
Yeah, I'd want to know what I could do before. Put a lot into it, right, buddy?
Yeah, that's right. But what concerns me about it is the fact that we the water and sewer is not available, and they're all going to have to make some arrangements. And if they're going to spend some money, they're going to want to move as quick as they can. So they're going to try to, I would imagine, and here again, when you assume something, you make a butt out of yourself and someone else. But I would assume that what they're doing, they would move as fast as they could or quick as they could, and they would look at building a package deal. When I say a package deal, they're probably looking at doing their own sewer plant and having some place to dispose of that. I don't know where they're going to be able to dispose of that. They're going to have some land to spray to dispose that. Therein causes another problem. So if we rezone it to allow that, which is fine, but at the same time, you're rezoning something that is going to have probably a negative impact, because you've got to spend a lot of money to build a wastewater treatment plant, but you got to spend more money to have a place to spray it, get rid of that fuel. And they may have a plan in place to where they can put it back into the development as far as allowing for watering of the grass and stuff. They may have a golf course. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. But I would imagine they would have some kind of plan of that in place. My only question is, they're asking for rezoning. I kind of go along with Ms. Batts on this. If you're asking for it now, and I know they're going to move on it if we do rezone it. I also know, that's why I asked Ms. Times the question I did about the density, to see which one had the most density, the less density. And the only good thing that I can see about this is this has a less density than what the original zoning was. Even though I'd like to see it have less density than that, but still, it is what it is. But I can see that, as the lawyer also mentioned too, they would probably do something. He can't speak for them, and neither can I don't assume to, and neither does he. But if whatever we do, however we do, is going to be the signal and trigger for what they're going to do. And with that, I'll be quiet.
What do we need to do?
Well, I just want to add to Mr. Fowler's point, for the public's benefit, the headaches he was referring to would be the landowner or the developer's headaches, not the town's headaches.
Right.
And those type of things, as you might imagine, especially from a private actor, are highly regulated as far as treating it and discharging it. So
Right.
there are additional safeguards, but to the extent people heard that's going to be a headache, I think we need to clarify that that headache is going to be for the property owner or the developer, not the town.
Right.
Yeah, since we're not doing it, then it won't be on the municipality.
Yes, sir. And you can't just go out there and do it however you want to. There's a significant amount of regulation that governs that.
Okay. All right. Do we need to vote on this now?
The options are to vote to approve, vote to deny, or vote to approve with conditions. If you're inclined to approve it, I strongly recommend you approve with conditions of the acknowledgement of the present lack of water and sewer utilities and no promise as to when they'll be available. I'll defer to Mr. Brewer on, sorry, Cal, to put you on the spot. If we're going to do a look-back provision, again, I think that the start date should be once utilities are available. Cal, do you?
I mean, you can look at this two different ways, and yes, you could look at that, which there's absolutely no set time. You know, as Mr. Price had come up, 5 could be 10 years. You know, we're also in the midst of updating our comprehensive plan as well, which may guide future development. You know, so council absolutely can consider that. You know, being a sort of a timing on there. It just goes from commercial to multifamily zoning. So I don't have an answer for you, but those are two things. So you could just set it at 3 years. You could set it at 2 years to take a look at it. Ma'am.
To determine if progress has been made.
Very good.
So if we want to extend it, then maybe we could put that in there, but the ordinance already requires that at 3 years, we revisit.
And we can keep it that way. Presumably, the applicant will come back if there's no provision for utilities, and he's pushing, or it's pushing up against 3 years and seek an extension.
Well, and that provides them to, come here to justify their request.
Exactly.
At 3 years.
That's kind of the whole, it's a backstop, so people can't just let it languish forever, excuse me.
Okay. Is that good? Who's making the motion? Nobody?
I'll make. Go ahead. I'll make a motion to deny the rezoning of this property at this time until we get our water and sewer infrastructure in place.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
You gonna second it?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Is it because we don't have the water and sewer in place? Because if you say
You're gonna deny it because of that.
if you say until, that could be construed as once we do have it in place, then they're automatically approved. So I would just say, if the basis of your motion is to deny it because we do not have the water and sewer in place, I think that's probably a cleaner way to state it.
Yes, sir. I'll state it that way.
Okay.
I'll second it that way.
So you got that down,
Yes, sir.
Carla? Okay, do I have a second on it?
It already has been, sir.
Okay, Jeremy seconded. Yes. Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, so moved. All right. Next is old business and Williams Hurricane House subdivision. Who's got that? Do what? Yeah, we'll cover that. Okay, hold on. All right, we'll do the beach sub access first. You running out? Uh-oh. Okay, go ahead.
So there's been a lot of comments made since our last workshop concerning the beach access cleanups. And I just want to say it's about managing things properly. We hold our staff accountable. We hold our children accountable. I am very thankful for all the support and efforts that all of our citizens do, that our children do, that our business owners do to clean our beaches. However, this program was terminated because of a liability. Not only a liability put on the town, but also a liability put on the sponsor. I did say that the Beautification Enhancement Committee, along with the street department, initiates town organized trash sweeps in efforts to keep our beaches clean. There are many events that occur. Yesterday I walked with the Longboard Association. Sea Turtle Hospital works well with beach cleanups, EMA, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, surf shops, surf schools, churches, Ocean Fest, realtors, because they all take pride on where they live and visit. You don't have to sponsor. It is nice to say, hey, you know, this business did an excellent job. Thank you for cleaning your beach access. But when it becomes a liability on the business or the person that has sponsored that beach access, then that's where you have to step back and look at it differently. And that's what I did. Many business owners and sponsors, individuals, they walk, their children pick up trash with them. I personally had a sign. I don't need a sign. I took down my sign because I felt that it was a personal liability,
Liability to you.
on Teresa Batts Real Estate. So I personally took down my sign. I want us to focus on keeping our beaches clean. I want us to focus on teaching the children the importance of keeping our beaches clean, and for us to take time to just to say thank you. And if the attorney has anything that he wants to add concerning the liability, I'll be glad to hear it.
All right, have you got something you want to add?
Well, if you'd like me to, I'll be happy to.
I would like for you to.
Again, this is advice to the council, not to the public at large, because I don't represent the public at large. I need to make that.
Yeah, but this is what we're talking
Yes, sir.
about. So this will be coming from you, but from the council.
Yes, sir. It's from me to the council, and I'm glad the public can hear it,
right.
whether you're here or watching or read the minutes. There's two potential sources of liability. As I understand it, one of the purposes of the sponsorship was that the sponsor would periodically inspect the walkway, the condition of the walkway,
Yeah.
and then in turn provide a report to the town. It's also my understanding that that was not being done on a regular or frequent basis.
Right.
One could argue, say someone got hurt on an obstruction on a walkway. And I'm not saying I would make this argument, but you guys know how lawyers are. I hate to say that about my brethren, but one could make the argument that had the town insisted that they get these reports, they would have been in a better position to know of this, whatever caused the injury. Say it was a rotten piece of wood, nail or screw pop, whatever. Secondly, one could argue that the sponsor, by agreeing to do this periodic inspection and make these reports, if they don't do that, they've assumed affirmative duty to do that. They know the public's using these walkways. And by not conducting these periodic inspections and making the corresponding reports, a lawyer could argue that that's negligence. So that's one component of the potential liability concern. The other is, to the extent it's a cleanup program, and if it's town-sponsored, we pay for the, when I say town-sponsored, but we allow their plaque to be on public property. If someone were to be cleaning the beach and, heaven forbid, hit a hypodermic needle, some uncovered glass, something of that nature, I mean, there arguably could be a suit. I'm not saying it would have a lot of merit, but there could be a suit against the town because the town was involved in this program. Now, you can sign waivers in North Carolina. The only time they're really effective is if you, the only time they're really effective is if you specify exactly what caused the injury.
Right.
Like if you get cut on a piece of glass, if you sign a waiver that says, I won't sue you if I get cut by a shell, then that waiver is worthless. So it's got to be the exact injurious causing mechanism spelled out in the waiver.
That's right.
So those were my concerns. Now, we have not abdicated I spoke with the town manager. We conduct periodic inspections. We're doing our part. But when you start bringing in a third party on these two things, I was asked to assess potential liability, Mayor and Council, and that's my assessment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, what about the liability of the town? Somebody go out there and get cut or stuck with a hypodermic?
Well,
is it not the same?
Well, when you interject the notion that there's going to be periodic inspections and reports, arguably that gives the public the comfort of knowing, okay, these things are being looked after. And I think I tried to answer those two questions in what I said earlier, but it's all a fact-specific thing.
Yeah, but if the town says, we inspect that crossover every day.
Right.
Then what happens?
Well, the law is the condition has to be either known or have existed long enough, it's called constructive notice, that the town should have known about it and did not take any corrective action.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, is if we say we inspect it every day, then, and somebody goes out there and falls through a board the next day that was rotten the day before.
In that circumstance, I think...
Is there a liability there?
In that circumstance, if a town employee says, yes, I was at access number whatever, pick a number, I inspected it on this date, it was in good shape, and then clearly the next day someone falls through a rotten board, and the evidence is that that employee knew or should have known that was a rotten board, then that would be problematic.
So the liability would be the same whether it was a town employee saying that it was inspected or an individual saying it was inspected.
Well, not necessarily. The scenario you gave me is if a town employee goes out there every day.
Right, well, that's what they say.
And I'm talking about, and again, all of these things are going to be fact-specific. I mean, if somebody
You're right. Well, it's
slip
like
down,
I told somebody today, or sometime anyway, I said, you know, I may go to the meeting tonight, and we do have a lot of helicopters in this area. And a helicopter could crash and fall right through here and kill all of us. Right?
Let's hope that doesn't happen. But
I
yes,
know,
sir.
I hope it doesn't happen too, but what I'm saying, there is a liability to everything you do. Now, if
It
they
depends.
didn't sign a paper saying that they were keeping check on those crossovers, then would they be liable?
I think they could be if the concept of the again, I think they could be. I think if the concept of the program is I am going to adopt this crossover and I get a plaque out there and I'm telling the world, or our program tells the world, that means I'm going to expect it. I don't know what the periodic interval was. Was it once a month, once a week, whatever it was?
Okay, let's forget that. But so what we need to do is, in other words, not put anything out for adoption of individual people, right?
That's a political question? That's a policy question more than a legal question. From a legal perspective, I would say if you're going to have a program that entails non-town personnel inspecting and reporting on the condition of these walkways, those rules need to be unambiguous and clear, and they need to be followed.
All right, I'm doing away with the inspection.
Okay.
I'm just talking about the cleaning up.
Sort of like a Adopt a Highway program?
Right. Okay, what happens on an Adopt a Highway program?
Well, presumably you'd go out there, I mean, we could set the framework up where for whatever the arrangement would be that this person is responsible or has volunteered to clean up or whatever the parameters are. I mean, that gives me a lot less heartburn than the whole inspecting and reporting the condition of it, because some of these people may not even be qualified for that.
Buddy had rewritten that and done away with the inspection part, right? Huh?
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to accept that. So, but,
Mr. Mayor, accept
I'm
what?
glad
Mr.
to
Mayor,
see-
accept what? I didn't accept what? You said we didn't want to accept what? I was trying.
He was going to do away. I say, nobody wanted to accept his idea of the new program with the crossovers.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't know. Mr. Fowler, I'm sorry.
He's not aware of that.
Well, yeah, I'm not aware of
Why is
that.
he
and
not aware of
Because
it?
I didn't send it to her.
Huh?
I sent it to you.
I know you sent it to me, and then you sent it to Teresa.
And I'm not, and Mr. Fowler, I think the reason probably why you didn't send it to me, because we already made a decision on this at the last meeting. And I don't know if that's correct or not, and that was you, and that was,
Here's my
can I?
thing. I had a lot of people come to me and told me that what it looked like to them was that we didn't want individuals or businesses or anybody else cleaning up the beach. It was just the way that they perceived it. So what I'm saying is I'm glad to see this room full of people today. And I am tickled with the way our beaches look now. And the only reason our beaches look like they do now is because of the citizens. It doesn't have anything to do really with the town employees, because town employees have always cleaned up. But we have worked with and taught and advertised for individuals to clean it up. There's a lot more people, when they go on the beach, used to they'd go over there and have a party and they'd leave every bit of their trash there. Most of them now pick up their trash and bring it off. So I want to let you know that I do appreciate citizens' engagement of any kind, keeping the beach clean. So that's my say. You know, it's an issue to preserve our, we don't have an open forum. It's an issue to preserve, you know, the culture of Surf City, like somebody said. Surf City is a small, family-type community, and we all work together. And that's what we want to keep. I don't care how big we get, I still want to be a small community with everybody working together. And so that's what we're going to try to do. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Okay, Williams Hurricane, did we ever decide what to do with that? Nothing?
I'd like to make a motion to recuse myself.
Do what?
I'd like to make a motion to recuse myself from Williams Hurricane House subdivision.
Okay, William House. Okay.
Is that due to a potential conflict?
Yes.
Financial conflict?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone needs to make a motion.
Yeah. Somebody needs to make a motion to accept her.
I make a motion to accept her recusing herself. Councilwoman Teresa Bass recuse herself from this.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Due to either actual or potential financial conflict of interest. Is that the motion?
Yes. Sorry, I let you say it for me, Mr. Attorney.
All right. Okay.
Is there a vote?
Now,
Mayor,
who's going to present that?
Did everyone vote to recuse her? Okay.
Yes.
Are you presenting?
Ms. Kimes, yeah.
In your packet today is a request for the approval of a major subdivision. The ordinance defines a major subdivision as any subdivision that does not meet the requirement of an exempt minor or minor expedited subdivision. The subject property is identified on Pender County GIS as the number given and can be seen on the location map that's provided in your packet. The applicant is requesting to subdivide the existing 11.5 acre tract into 2 parcels. The overall property to be subdivided is greater than 2 acres, excluding it from the minor regulations, and was subdivided less than 10 years ago, which removes it from the minor expedited process. The property will be subdivided to create a 1 acre home site for Mr. Williams. The subdivided lot will have direct access to Belt Road, be served by Pender County Water, and has been evaluated for septic system options. The parent parcel is zoned R10 with the adjacent Pender County zoning listed as residential performance. The proposed subdivision of this property will create 2 conforming R10 lots and will be compatible with both the surrounding town of Surf City and Pender County zonings. At the planning board meeting, planning board voted to recommend the approval of the plat as submitted.
Okay, do I have a motion on that?
I make a motion that we accept the...
Accept it as presented.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Raise your hand. You got anything else, Miss Amy?
That is my last agenda item tonight, sir.
Okay, I thank you. All right. You've been mighty quiet tonight, so we'll let you gonna do the capital project ordinance?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to ask Mr. Price to come up here and talk to you about the first 2 items under new business.
The guy with the dark suit on?
It is, yes.
Mayor, Council, I appreciate the opportunity. The next two items, the capital project ordinance amendment and the wastewater system development fees, BOA, is to set up the project to add a second digester to the wastewater treatment plant. As you know, we're always looking to expand our potential to gain more capacity. This is the first step to doing that. I should say next step to doing this. As we take on more and more influent, this second digester is needed to treat the water to the highest standard possible for environmental and economic reasons. This project is estimated to cost $5.32 million and is expected to be completed by 2024. The American Rescue Plan Act state appropriation has already been awarded, and that will pay for $4 million of this project. Staff recommends approval on both items, and I'm here for any questions if you need.
Okay. Okay, anybody got any questions for him? I mean, he's paid for it. He's paying for it.
I missed one thing. Who's paying the $4 million?
The state, the American Rescue Plan.
Okay. So we're only gonna have roughly $1 million in it.
1.32 to be exact.
Yeah, that's good.
And he's gonna get that from somewhere else.
Good. I'll make a motion, we accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Hard for us to turn that down.
Mr. Mayor, if you could just make entertain a motion for the second item. They're inherently connected together, but two separate motions and votes
Okay.
would be
That one
appropriate.
was for the capital project ordinance amendment. All right, now do I have a motion to, the waste system development fees,
I'll make that
BOA?
motion as well.
Okay, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, is that good?
Thank you.
That take care of it?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism bylaws revision.
Ms. Shepherd, I believe.
Here she comes.
Evening. So in front of you is the information that we have last updated at our Parks, Recreation, Tourism Advisory Subcommittee. So the items in red was the revision that was made in 2020, and the revisions in blue was what we had recently approved at our April meeting on the 14th of this year. So we did make some adjustments since we no longer have the Beautification and Enhancement Committee under the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. That has now shifted to Parks and Maintenance. So utilizing the Facilities and Grounds Supervisor as well as our staff. So on each one of these subcommittees, I do put our staff depending on their area of expertise, and then along with Park Rec Advisory Committee members, and then some of them, like I said, have the Parks and Maintenance, and then some of them have additional members of the public.
Okay.
So I would like to move forward with approval of this if possible.
Do I have a motion for approval on these changes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the changes as recommended by Ms.
Okay, second.
Shepherd.
I'll second it.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay,
Thank you.
all righty. Now, committee handbook revision and adoption, you got that?
You have that in your packet.
I know,
with all changes highlighted. I mean, some of that is from Ms. Shepherd's changes are included in that handbook. Some other changes include moving the Beautification and Enhancement Committee to Facilities and Grounds Department, as was discussed before. Change the date of the election of officers in the Beautification and Enhancement Committee to correlate with other items in the handbook. And some language updated for the ordinances that have been updated since the handbook was done.
So you through with it now?
We hope so.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the handbook as presented for the changes. I have read it and looked at it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
You second it? Sure. Okay. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. And now, Mr. Manager.
You're dropping like flies, Mr. Mayor, so I better get it in while I can.
Yeah, you better.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow council, and certainly the public that are here to listen to what's going on. Just real quick, wanted to update, and everybody should have got this update in regards to the federal project. Last week, we received some very positive news, and that has been reaffirming. And just today, we spoke with Congressman Rouser, who told us he's been in communication with Colonel Bennett over the last couple of months, and Colonel Bennett has been portraying that same positive news to our congressman. So, we do continue to move forward with the federal project, and are preparing ourselves to continue with obtaining easements and other administrative tasks that are necessary to move forward with that. The Shoreline and Resiliency Committee will meet on Thursday at 9 a.m. The committee will be briefed on that federal project, as well as upcoming opportunities to work with the Coastal Federation on a living shoreline project and standing sill wall at our Soundside Park. In addition, we're working with the Coastal Federation on a watershed protection plan in which certain policies may be adopted to help spur additional projects and funding to assist with both water quality and quantity. And I think there were some comments made earlier with development and things of that nature. So just wanted to provide that update. We were notified last week that the town was awarded $250,000 from the Golden Leaf Foundation to complete a portion of the feasibility study addressing the flooding along South Shore Drive. We'll be meeting with Golden Leaf next week to go through their training to get an understanding of reporting requirements, milestones, etc. We're very grateful for them, as the town has enjoyed a good relationship with Golden Leaf over the years and their dedication to assist in funding much needed projects, not just for Surf City, but across the great state of North Carolina. And always want to give them credit anytime that we possibly can, because they have been excellent partners to work with. The Resilient Coastal Communities Program, the Phase 3 application of that continuous grant was submitted last week. I personally emailed that in to the state to continue our funding. This phase is for engineering, which is going to look at roadside flooding and implement roadside infiltration of stormwater in certain hotspot areas that were identified by our staff, by our Shoreline and Resiliency Committee, and also this is duplicated in both Topsail Beach and North Topsail Beach. So we'll be able to utilize the entirety of the funding to hire an engineer to get that project underway for design, and then Phase 4 application will be for the actual funding to construct. Another portion of this that was put into the grant application is the replicability of the project, so that when the town sees areas that we can apply this same treatment to, we'll be able to go back into that book and apply that design and do that the right way. So just wanted to update you on that as we progress through that state program. We've been very pleased with that. I was able to participate by listening in to the Onslow County budget presentation, which they did adopt their budget yesterday. Specifically, the importance of their budget is the funding set-asides to municipalities in Onslow County to supplement the fire services. So, even though just a small portion of our town is within Onslow County, this could realize approximately $140,000 back to the town to help fund our fire service, in which we deploy into Onslow County, and we're there for response. It's anticipated that a formal memorandum of understanding will be presented to the town outlining the basic parameters for obtaining and using those funds. So we'll look out for that and see what's going to be tied to that. Just want to keep this on your radar as we close out the current fiscal year. Our finance director will be preparing and presenting at your June work session sort of a closeout. There's certain budget ordinance amendments that he'll need to take care of just to keep our books in order. So just wanted to let you know about that. Our auditors are in the building right now, not as we speak, but this week looking at our prior year budget and finances, so we're always happy to have them, and we work well with them, so it's a good process for us. Just wanted to kind of update the public that these development projects that are ongoing throughout town, every other week we do a report through the governmental update, what is happening. So you can certainly follow along to these projects, and what I would certainly recommend is pay attention to what's going on at the planning board. They are the advisory board to this council, and really your prime opportunity to be involved and really help shape that development. I also wanted to plug the project in which our town planner, Amy Kimes, is working on, which is our comprehensive plan. And that is truly our 30-year plan for the town. So when we talk about vision and we talk about the input from the public, we received almost 1,000 comments that's going to help shape the policies and direction of this town moving forward. So there's opportunities to be involved. It might not come in the opportunity where development is happening in your backyard, but that's really where the policy direction starts, and that's where the importance of planning in certainly a high growth community comes into play. And we're updating the plan that was adopted in 2005. So a lot of changes occurring, and on all ends, and I urge you to be involved in that process, because that will certainly shape future direction and future decisions that are made. On a somewhat smaller scale, positive news, working with our electric cooperative with Jones Onslow. We are going to be moving forward with installing 2 level 2 chargers within town for electric vehicles. Have some personal thoughts on that, but we will have a site here at the municipal complex, and then one at the old town hall on the island to try and provide those opportunities for an ever-growing market in electric vehicles. Want to give you an update on the AMI meter replacement. I've kept this on your updates every month, as it's an evolving project, a very large-scale project affecting everybody in town. Even though we'll have about 300 meters to replace by the end of this month, we're going to hit some very serious delays in supply chain and getting the final, really what's going to be about 300 meters left for replacement. So just wanted to let you know that, and we'll have some delays in the customer portal side of the AMI project. Again, trying to do everything we can to work with our vendor, who has some resources, but it's impacted everything we pretty much do with supply chain issues. So just wanted to let you know. The summer camp program, we haven't really talked about it a lot this year, but that started this week. Once again, we were at a max capacity with waiting lists at both of our facilities. We operate the one here at the community center, and then partner with Holly Ridge to provide additional opportunity that we saw with the youth in not just Surf City, but our surrounding areas. So those programs are underway, and you'll see them around town on the buses, going to field trips, et cetera. And this year, I wanted to let you know that Chief Voorhees and Jody Shepard, our Parks Director, Lieutenant Hauser, I think he was in the back, and Sergeant Cowie have been working together to make sure that we're going through safety audits at our facilities in which we are housing these children. And I just want to commend them for the work that they're doing to really analyze and look at that and make sure that the protection of our kids are at a top priority. And then the last thing I have is download the Surf City app, please. It's called My Surf City on Apple or your Google Play Store. And the more users we get, the more information we'll be able to push out to those folks. We did do a mass notification for the Bridge Dam event, and if you downloaded the app, hopefully you got that. But we want to continue to use that and build upon the resources that provides provides you as citizens, and also for us, because we use service request workflows through that app And it's very beneficial for us if you do download that and let us know where we can improve the town. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Oh, you got you through? That's quick.
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else?
No, sir.
Okey-doke. All right, council forum. Anybody want to speak? John, you got anything to say?
No. Well, I just appreciate everybody coming out tonight. It's good. Hopefully we got some things cleared up that was, I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding out there in the airwaves, but I think we got that put to sleep now, and we cleared up that misunderstanding. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fowler.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank those that spoke tonight, and those that are in attendance as well. I'm glad to see the crowd we had tonight. I'm also glad that hopefully we as a council and the town will be able to address some of the flooding issues on the island with this $250,000 grant. And I would encourage our manager to continue encouraging our department heads to look for grant money, because there's still a lot of money out there, and anytime we can get a dollar or get a penny to save some on our taxes, we're certainly grateful for that, to be able to hold the tax rate down. It's always good to see everyone to come out, and I say this to you in all honesty. We're here to serve you. If you have a question, relay the question or concern to us. Make no promises, but I can promise you this: I will listen, and I'm sure the ones up here with me will listen, and we'll do what we can do. Sometimes we can't do some things that we would love to do because of regulations and guidelines. But with that being said, again, thank all of you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Okay. Miss Teresa.
I'm glad that we got clarification on cleaning the beaches. Like I say, it was nothing done intentional. It was just clearly a liability issue, nothing more than that. And if you look at it from that way, you can't help but say this is the right thing to do. I've told many others that sit on this board, there's 3 words that I always go by. It's health, safety, and welfare. And when you can answer a question with those 3 words, then you're doing it for the right reason. I also want to ask that we task our town attorney and our staff to investigate and enforce, if necessary, whatever needs to be done at the Freedom Boat site. And
And to what?
where the Freedom Boat
Freedom
Boat site is. Also, I think the town manager and the staff have done an excellent job in getting our funding that we've got recently, as well as the Bridge Jam. All departments came together and made it a wonderful festival with no hiccups that I'm aware of. There might have been a few, but I'm not aware of any. And there's so many new activities that, as we come into the beach season, that are just popping up every weekend. So take advantage of all the free stuff to do in Surf City. Thank you.
Jeremy, huh?
I'm good.
You're good.
I don't believe it.
Well, I ain't got a whole lot to say, but Zach, what I would do is, if you got flooding on 6th Street, which everybody down there's got flooding, but if it's rain flooding, go on the website and put it on there, okay? Go to My Surf City. All right, and let's see, Melabella, I think he's already gone. And I don't know what we can do about the salaries anyway, do you?
Hold them where they are.
Huh?
Hold them where they are.
Yeah. Okay, and Larry Rice, you just gonna have, where'd Larry go? He's already gone, okay. I was gonna tell him to, just when the stoplight turns green at J.H. Batts, go. Okay, anything else? Anybody got anything?
Make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Yes, sir. You got something?
Just real quick, today the North Carolina Court of Appeals handed down, I think, a pro-municipal case that had to do with who has standing to attack a zoning ordinance. And it also went away from about 100 years of case law. Normally, a property owner could testify that a zoning application caused them to lose value in their property. Today's ruling says that's not enough. You're going to need more than just yourself. You're going to need someone, unless you have specialized knowledge in it. So I think that's pro-municipal.
You got to hire an attorney to do it, right?
Not necessarily an appraiser, but I mean, there's always a question of standing because, it used to be you measure by the close proximity you are to wherever the zoning issue is. Before today, a property owner could testify that his or her value was being diminished because of a zoning ordinance. After today, it appears that that's no longer the case. So,
Okay.
courts have been rough on us the last 4 or 5 years. I'm glad to see this one.
All right.
That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Miss Carla, you got anything?
No, sir.
Okay. I guess we're ready if everybody make a motion, or somebody will make a
I'll make a
motion.
motion with adjourn.
Okay, second. All in favor, raise your hand. We are now adjourned.